3% reporting with around a 1.4% lead. And in Oklahoma, Tennessee right now is still very, very close with 70% reporting. Biden is in the lead there. Arkansas, Biden up with just initial results. We're still, again, all these results very, very initial at this time. So, let's see if there's any crazy things going on right now. Nothing out of the ordinary. As we still wait for some of the results to come in. So there has been pressure from Bloomberg to exit the race, and it's only going to intensify from some of the centrists in the party if he continues to just really stink up the joint like he is tonight. Warren's campaign is really probably going to be feeling pretty deflated. She only cracked 15% in one state, her home state of Massachusetts, and even there she's in third place. At this point, now she's actually pulled ahead in the lead now. There's still 4% reporting. Very, very little is known at this time about that race. Let's see. With what we have here, some actually 5.6% according to the Politico calling of it. Bernie's up in Texas, Tennessee, and Massachusetts, so that is interesting. So I think they may be actually a little bit ahead of the New York Times on this. It's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like they actually may be a little bit ahead. But we're going to be continuing to follow that as it comes, and maybe we'll stick more with Politico because they are a little bit quicker when it comes to that, a little bit more efficient. What's going to be closing at 9 p.m. is interesting because we have Minnesota closing, Utah closing, and Colorado and Minnesota closing. Colorado and Minnesota likely going to go to Bernie Sanders, 67 and 75 delegates. Amy Klobuchar dropping out was a huge gift to Bernie Sanders in Minnesota. That's probably going to give him the state there. So it's going to be interesting to see if the moderate consolidation around Joe Biden can hold up. I think it makes the case for Elizabeth Warren wants to save that one last little shred of credibility left. She has to drop out and endorse Bernie Sanders like yesterday. Literally yesterday. We are working on getting James Stanley over to us. And hopefully he will be around pretty shortly. So it's Jessica Cisneros. So this is a pretty cool Jessica Cisneros ad called Afford.
Today in South Texas, it seems like no one is helping people afford healthcare. So we sell plates of chicken, we have loterias, we go to Mexico. The struggle to afford basic care here is unacceptable, and it is also personal. I watched my aunt die of stomach cancer because she couldn't afford treatment. Unlike Congressman Cuellar, I don't take money from health insurance lobbyists or corporate PACs. I support Medicare for all because everyone deserves the dignity of affordable health care. I'm Jessica Cisneros, and I approve this message because South Texas needs a new voice.
I really don't get why they have to say why they continue. Like, I don't get why they always their constant effort is to just try and say, oh, I have to approve it. Anyway, it looks like actually right now, do a quick refresh of the results here. Texas, Bernie up by 1, and literally all my tabs are New York Times. But let's take a look more at the at Bernie Sanders here. He has so far secured 36 delegates, Bloomberg 6, and Tulsi Gabbard got 1 delegate, guys. Oh my gosh, in the American Samoa. What? Tulsi Gabbard with 1 delegate in the American Samoa. How about that? Although it doesn't look like, apparently according to the DNC, they're just going to raise the threshold so she can't get in. Which is sorry, Tulsi. I don't get why Elizabeth need to kind of unify their vote behind Bernie Sanders. I don't know how much of that vote it's going to be, but if they get it, I think it's going to be, if they do get it, if they're able to get it in, and finally pack it in, Elizabeth and Tulsi, and they go ahead for Bernie Sanders, I think it could be very huge. And there's a lot of people, obviously, despite all what you hear about Bernie and Warren, they're feuding, but a lot of a lot of Elizabeth Warren voters still very much like Bernie Sanders. They really do. So that benefit is going to go heavily to Bernie Sanders' effect here. And that could, just the progressive consolidation, I think, is going to be very, very important. And Elizabeth Warren just really going hard for Bernie, I think, is pretty much the only way she can redeem some of her very much lost credibility with a lot of Bernie Sanders fans. Interesting to see why no results from the Texas race, Henry Cuellar and Jessica Cisneros, have come in yet, at least according to Politico. But we will be monitoring that and give you the latest results as they do come in. Yeah. So special if you're in the especially if you're in line for Bernie, but if you're listening to this somehow, you know someone who may be listening to this, and you're in line and you're waiting for Bernie, waiting to vote for Bernie Sanders, stay in line. That's the rule. Stay in line, folks. Do not leave. Please, just don't leave. So yeah, if you're able to stay, if you're just able to stay in that line, cast your vote for Bernie Sanders, just do it and really, really be aggressive about it. Yeah, and by the way, this is what we're dealing with tonight. These are the people that we are dealing with tonight. David Frum on BBC Newsnight coming in saying this about Bernie Sanders supporters. Check this out.
Joe Biden appeals to people who pay their cable bills on the day it arrives. Bernie Sanders appeals to people who may forget to pay the cable bill entirely. And the first group, they're both equally morally worthy, but the first group are more reliable. Joe Biden appeals to people who pay their cable. Yeah,
I'll let that play. Actually, I'll let that play one more time.
Bernie Sanders appeals to people who may forget to pay the cable bill entirely. And the first group, they're both equally morally worthy, but the first group are more reliable.
Yeah, just disgusting. Another just disgusting showing from David Frum, showing really what, as we try to get James Stanley on the line here, really just showing the contempt that he has for Bernie Sanders voters and for literally the working class of this country in general. It's like, oh yeah, they don't pay their bills. It's just like he has not talked to someone who makes less than $100,000 that and has actually been friends with them and actually had a social relationship with them. They haven't he's talked to them, but only when they're serving him something. But he hasn't actually known someone who is worth less than $100,000 probably for I don't know how long. I really do not know how long. So it's just really disgusting. So it's just pretty much what we see time and time again. I really don't get, again, Elizabeth Warren, she's tweeting about how every day in the selfie lines they hear the stories from people who are struggling, who need a government that's on their side, not the side of the billionaires and giant corporations. That's why I'm in this fight. No! You're in this fight, as long as you're in this fight for yourself, you're in this fight to stop Bernie and serve the establishment. So that is what that's the reality situation. Because you being in the fight does not help anybody but Joe Biden and his friends, who are the richest people in this country and the most powerful people in the Democratic Party. And if the Working Families Party, who came out with a statement and said that that Elizabeth Warren's progressive and she's going to work out for progressive, if they know anything about the candidate that they so stupidly endorsed, I think they're really going to have to prove it here, because that is something that is just despicable, really despicable stuff. Because he's just handing it. He's just handing it there. It's really, really rough to see that this is getting such a big play here. But hopefully, we can hopefully we get some good news out of tonight, at least from Texas with Jessica Cisneros win, as we continue to keep an eye on that. Anyway, the exit polls from across Super Tuesday states, ages 18 to 19 are the best for Sanders. Is 18 to 34. Very liberal, support changing single government health plan, independence, or something else. That's where Bernie Sanders is the best does the best with. The best for Joe Biden: black voters, older voters, voters with their top issue being race relations. Opposed changing to single government health plan. Democrats 49%. So, Mike Bloomberg does best with moderate or conservative voters. Opposes changing healthcare to single government plan. Changing single government health plan. Older voters, slightly less old voters, and Elizabeth Warren does the best with liberal. Her best groups, not does the best, but her best groups are liberal voters, 30 to 44, college graduates, somewhat liberal, and those with the top issue of climate change, which is interesting. I wonder who does the best with the top issue, healthcare. I love how Mike Bloomberg does the worst with those who have their top issue of income inequality. That's really no surprise, but there are lots of votes to be counted tonight and more contests to come, but the challenge for Sanders is very clear. He has been unable to garner enough support from African-American voters, which is much more important than the endorsement Biden received in the last 44 hours. I think that's incredibly accurate here as polls begin to close in Colorado, Minnesota, which could do a little bit better for Bernie. I mean, he's done better with the Latino voters, that is for sure, but he, I think, needs to make some inroads more and more and more as we continue to see it. It's not just South Carolina. There are some real problems that Bernie Sanders has with black voters, and I think the fact that Biden's resurgence has made them, I think Bernie was in a better position with black voters before the media narrative began to build that, just because Biden won a state that he was really heavily favored to win. Just because when that media narrative started to build, Biden's going to be the one, Biden's going to take you there. Just when that media narrative started to build, I think it really did him a lot of help with black people. And if that narrative hadn't come up, I think Bernie Sanders would be in a much better position with black people, because the biggest problem, or the biggest focus with black voters is, I mean, we've seen it time and time again, especially older black voters, it's electability. And that made him look very electable, even though it was a state that he was supposed to win and supposed to trounce in. He did it well. And that was a really, really big help for him. I think there's just no denying it. All right, yeah, we continue to wait on some results. Interesting. So there have been 2 new calls. All right, so we have some calls for you. It looks like we can confirm that according to Fox News, Bernie Sanders has won Colorado's Democratic primary, where Joe Biden has taken Oklahoma, blocking out Michael Bloomberg. Right now, Tennessee is still very, very close. Massachusetts very close between Biden and Bernie right now. Biden edging it out 29.3 to 29.2, 28.6 to 22.6. Bernie Sanders also up in Texas. But Bernie can add Colorado to the list of states that he has secured with 67 delegates in play. That is your update here on Super Tuesday at 9 o'clock as we wait for more results. And also continue to wait for James Stanley, who's going to be hopefully joining us soon. Again, according to Fox News, according to Fox News, Bernie gets Colorado and Biden gets Oklahoma. And we can see the New York Times are going to confirm that. But it is very, very interesting to see how this is all playing out. Very nerve-wracking as well. So many more things happening, and we're really, what we're doing is we are just waiting. So here's Mike Bloomberg. Here is a report from